Hey YouTube, it's Marida and welcome to another edition of the Nurse Lounge. And in this edition, we're going to talk about or continue my series of my narcissistic marriage, my road to recovery. And today's topic is going to be the victim mentality. If you want to see what I'm talking about, please stay tuned. All right, we're back. My name is Dr. Marida P. I'm a registered nurse. However, today we're not talking about nursing. We're going to continue my series of my narcissistic marriage, my road to recovery. And again, we are going to talk about his victim mentality. Now, if you happen to know a narcissist or have one in your life, whether he or she be a coworker, a boss, a family member, or a spouse or significant other, you know they always play the victim. Woe is me mentality is what they have. It is so alarming when you sit there and see these people and no matter the situation, they are not accountable for any of their actions. It is always somebody has done something to them. And in my situation, it's no different. It's very much no different. No matter what happened to my husband, it was nobody's fault but everybody else's. It was never his. So here's a couple of examples of how he's the victim in every situation that was clearly his fault. So one situation, let's just say one situation was this. So he happened to be late to work one day. Well, several days, but this particular day is when this happened. So he happened to be late for work, and I'm waking him up, as I always had to do, to make sure he went to work. To say, shouldn't you have been at work at 9 o'clock this morning? And it's now, I don't know, 10 or something like that. And he was just like, yeah. And and he ended up going to work, but coming back later that day and saying, I can't believe I got wrote up. I can't believe I got wrote up for being late today. That manager is the one who put me on the schedule back to back like that. He would get off, let's say at 2 o'clock in the morning, but have to be back about 9 o'clock in the morning to go to work. And it's her fault. She wouldn't do that to herself, but yet she does that to me. I said, you've been doing that same schedule for 2 years now, for one. Number two, that's why she the boss, because she can make the rules. And if you had an issue with it to begin with, you should have said something earlier than that. But you being late to work because you were on the schedule for 9 o'clock is your fault and your fault only. But it was that manager's fault. It was her fault as to why he was late, because of the fact that she scheduled him like that. But again, this is nothing new. It's just nothing new. And that's what he would blame everybody for, what he didn't do right. And then the next example was, it was one morning that I was happened to be home. I guess clinicals were over. It was in April. I remember that. It was my birthday. It was around my birthday, so I was home. It was actually my 40th birthday. So I was home that day. And the kids had to go to school. And it was his responsibility to put the kids on the bus that morning. And I remember having to look up at the clock, and they had to leave at 6:19 in the morning. I remember that. And I think it was 6:25. And I realized I still heard my kids out there. And I'm like, why are the kids still here? Oh, I said, you must have fell back to sleep. It's their fault. They shouldn't have been watching TV in the first place. It's their fault. They know better than this. They should have got on that bus like they're supposed to. Now, mind you, they were only 5 and 8 years old. Okay. So, or no, 6 and 9 years old, 6 and 9. 6 and 9 years old. So it's their responsibility. Yes, sometimes my son could, they should, for the most part, know sometimes to get on the bus or whatever. But at the end of the day, who is responsible for their kids? Who's responsible for the kids to get on the bus as they should be getting on the bus to go to school? Parents. It is us. So if we fall asleep, or like he did, if he fell asleep, he should have just owned the fact that he fell asleep and he had to take the kids to school. But yet he yelled at those kids and blamed them as if it was their fault as to why they missed the bus, when you're the parent. You should have been awake to put them on the bus. So he continuously, plays the victim on anything. When it comes to me, as an example, oh, you know what? If you just let me, if I didn't have to work around your schedule, that's what he would say. If I didn't have to work around your schedule, mind you, I was the breadwinner. I'm the one who brought in the most money. I'm the one who had the best jobs, because he wouldn't go get a good job. Okay. So of course, if I'm the one who bringing in the most money, paying the bills, you're gonna have to work around my schedule. I said, I will happily work around your schedule when you bringing in money that we can live off of. And so because he had to work around my schedule, and he would go get a job, and we'd set the hours for, say, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So he worked 2 jobs. He worked, say, like 9 in the morning to, say, 2 in the afternoon, and go to the second job from 5 at night to maybe 1 or 2 in the morning, whatever it happens to be. Anyway, his schedule allowed him to be home to put the kids on the bus in the morning and to get them off in the afternoon. Is basically what that schedule was like, because I'm working 12-hour shifts at the hospital, or doing 12-hour clinicals with my students. So again, I'm making the most money. So of course the job will accept him. They say, okay, yeah, I don't know what he really put on the application, but he starts off working 5 to whatever. Then next thing I know, oh, I got to be working 3:30 today. Well, I'm not going to be home at 3:30. And then later on, he ends up getting fired from the job because of the fact that they keep scheduling him for 3:30 or 4, and he's not supposed to be there till 5 if he really applied that way anyway, or put that as his hours anyway. I don't know. My point is this, though. Because he had to work around my schedule, it's my fault that he got fired. I'm like, no, if you had told them from jump that I can only work from 5 to whatever, and you held true to that, then this wouldn't be an issue. So again, it's my fault you got fired from the job, because you couldn't work the schedule. You were dishonest to begin with. You should have told them the truth that you could work only from 5 to whatever on, these days. And so that is yet another example of how he would play the victim. There is nothing that ever happened that would ever be his fault. That is one thing about a narcissist. It is never their fault. They will have blame in everything that they do. And it's always society. It's always her fault. It's always the children's fault. It's the baby's fault. The baby's fault as to why I had to get up and feed the baby, so therefore I was late. It's the baby's fault. He would even blame the baby when the baby was a baby. When the youngest one was a baby, he would blame him as to why he was late for work. I'm like, set an alarm like normal people do. And yes, it's rough when you first have a baby, but you can get through it. And that was his excuse. He was full of excuses. And like I said, he played that victim mentality. So I have no sympathy for him or anybody who's like that. That is what they do. This is short, sweet, to the point. This is how he was. Victim mentality. I could not stand it. I'm glad he's gone. I've told you all time and time again that this is how they are. They do not change at all. They do not change. They never will change, okay? They don't see them being a problem. You are the problem. You have an issue. You are mentally disturbed. It's never them. It's always us who has the problem. So the likelihood of you getting them into some kind of counseling or some kind of therapy or help is null, because even if they did it, it's like an alcoholic or a drug addict who goes to therapy or to rehab just to pacify you, but they don't feel like they have a problem. They're going to relapse. Because, when I say they're going to relapse, I think of relapse more of people who are trying to get better, but then they kind of fall off. So I don't even call that relapse. They are going to go back to their old habits because that's what they choose to do. They are never planning on getting healthy in the first place. Same thing when it comes to narcissists. They have no need to change because they are not the problem. You are the problem. Just know you are always the problem. So anyway, people want to know, who do I watch when it comes to narcissistic abuse and things like that? Again, I want to emphasize this is a form of abuse. If you are dealing with a narcissist, you are being abused. It doesn't have to be physical. Physical abuse is not the only form of abuse, or domestic violence, or domestic abuse. Physical abuse is not the only one. There is emotional, mental, financial, sexual, of course, physical abuse. There are so many components to domestic violence. If he or she is trying to control you via those means, so if they're trying to control the money, and they won't allow you to have money to take care of your needs. I've met women who she wasn't working because he didn't want her to work. But at the same time, when it came to her needing her monthly feminine hygiene products, she had to go through him to get them, and he wouldn't buy them for her. That is control. That is domestic violence. That's an example that I'm giving to you. So don't think it's all physical. Or in my situation, it was financial too, because what he would do, he knew that I was in school. He knew I wasn't working. So when he knew that, he would go and take money out the bank on purpose and go spend it on something, and we can't get that money back, and then I can't pay the bills. So he did that on purpose. That's financial abuse. And that's also, because of what comes from that, that's also mental and emotional abuse as well. So don't think that because they're not hitting you that it's not abuse. Abuse is abuse, period. So the people I watch when it comes to narcissism is quite a few, and I will have them listed in the description box below. However, a few of them happen to be Associate Direct, Dr. Carmen Bryant for Overcoming Narcissism Abuse, Dr. Les Carter, Surviving Narcissism, Harrio Over the Top, Pink Girl Teaches, Sarah Speaks, and who else? It's a few more that I listen to or I watch on YouTube quite often. The Royal We is one other YouTube channel that I happen to watch regarding narcissism and narcissistic abuse, and basically how to handle those situations. So that's pretty much it for this video. That is how he played the victim, and he's done that for, again, 17 years. So it's nothing new, but definitely watch more of these videos. I have plenty more content coming on my journey in terms of my road to recovery from this narcissistic marriage. And you can follow me on IG. The handle will be on the screen somewhere. You can also email me. And until the next time, you all take care. Bye-bye.